It is with great dismay but complete confidence that I say that the weaponization of the United States prosecutorial system is spinning further out of control, and it is time we take a stand. It shows when we have a national crime crisis failing by the wayside because political motivated campaigns designed for nothing other than retribution on political agitators keep getting in the way of our leading law enforcement officials who refuse to prioritize the American people.
That man is audacious, I will tell you, yes. Since pleading not guilty last week, George Santos has refused to resign. Of course, he's not giving up those benefits as a member of Congress. No. So of course, his fellow members of Congress, well, they're gonna help him out in that regard. Check this out.
I rise to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows. House Resolution 114. Resolved that pursuant to Article 1, Section 5, Clause 2 of the Constitution of the United States, Representative George Santos be, and he hereby is, expelled from the House of Representatives. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I really like that, very much so. That was freshman Congressman Robert Garcia of California, and he is forcing a vote to expel Santos from Congress. Now, expulsion is quite a high bar. It would require 2/3 of the House to come together and maybe have a little bit of moral courage, but we know that's probably not gonna happen.
And George Santos should not have access to our country's most guarded secrets. Now, last week, the House voted on legislation regarding unemployment fraud, and he voted for it while standing accused of unemployment fraud. It's a time to restore this body to what it should be, a beacon of democracy, freedom, and truth. Remember, we all filed, this group, the resolution 3 months ago, even before this last group of charges. Now, with power comes great responsibility, and the representative from New York has clearly no interest in the public good.
Yeah, and you got to ask yourself, do the Republicans have any interest in the public good? Because with 222 of them in the House and 13 of them being Democrats in the House, well, getting that 2/3 vote could be impossible. And of course, we know that House Speaker Kevin McCarthy probably doesn't want to give up an inch of his majority. But before we hear from McCarthy on how he feels on this situation, I would love to check in with you, Jessica, because I think that this is something that possibly should have happened quite a while ago. Why do you think the Dems are doing it now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I feel the same way about the prosecution of Trump and how Merrick Garland sat on his hands for so long. And then as soon as Trump announced he was running for public office, Garland said, well, now it would be political for us to do something about this. It's always they wait for an opportune moment to, I don't know, fight for justice, to fight for some kind of values or standards for members who hold public office. George Santos, I don't think is the worst of them. I think he's bad. I think that as a member of the queer community, we've wanted a gay villain in American politics for quite some time, and we got it in George Santos. But we can't make light of it, right? He lied about everything. He committed fraud. He lied about his resume. You shouldn't be allowed to run for public office and lie about who you are as a person and expect to keep the seat that you won. And it's much deeper than that. It seems that he's really led a life just riddled with fraud, which is incredible that he's made it this far. And you can look at it and say, this is a funny career arc for an American politician, but it's representative of the degradation of our political system in the United States. I love that he gives a speech where he acts like he's so righteous that this is an unjust use of our prosecutorial system. It's like, yeah, I agree that we don't have a sound system of justice in the United States. I think there's a lot of injustice in our legal system. This is not an example of that injustice. Of course, Santos needs to be prosecuted and investigated. It's comedy, but it's terrifying as well that this is the state of our politics.
Absolutely, it is quite terrifying. Despite DeSantis's audacity up there, I just can't help but wonder if this man is somehow posturing for maybe an insanity defense, because it's kind of crazy to me how he has just lied and lied and lied. and done so with impunity and also no regard. Like the man may be able to really have some kind of psychiatrist or a psychiatric specialist come on the stand and testify to the fact that there is something super wrong with you. And I'd like to think that Kevin McCarthy, the House Speaker, has finally gotten the message that we can't necessarily keep Santos around, but also we still need to keep him in terms of numbers. Because in light of the call to force a vote to expel Santos within the next 24 hours, well, Kevin McCarthy couldn't tiptoe around the Santos issue any longer.
Look, I think the George Santos indictment is very serious. I also know in America you're innocent to proven guilty, but I don't want to sit around and wait. So what I would like to do is move this to ethics. I think I would like the House to take up this work and look at it, and if it rises to that occasion, then, because as we look to all these differences, I mean, we just had a report come out from Durham. What does that say about Adam Schiff? He lied to the American public. Should he be expelled from Congress as well, taking Congress and America down through the path that he did, lying to us? So I think these accusations are very serious. I have a very concern about George Santos. So what I do firmly believe is, just in the foundation of this country, you got to have a process.
Yeah, but I would say Schiff doesn't have an indictment that's 13 counts of like what, felonies? Yeah, last I checked, it wasn't there. And it's so interesting because that indictment, while it doesn't have necessarily the heightened burden of proof yet in terms of beyond a reasonable doubt, it seems to have what I would think would be more than whatever an ethics committee would need to bring. But then again, I don't want to push McCarthy to actually do his job or show any kind of integrity. But of course, taking his direction, well, the GOP is now pushing off the vote, using a procedural mechanism to bypass the expulsion vote and kick the matter over to that House Ethics Committee. Yeah, so check out this headline here. Yep, they're referring Santos's expulsion to an ethics panel. And I can tell you that Congressman Garcia was none too pleased with the news, because he knows that an ethics investigation would only be deferred. The actual vote would be deferred too, because of the ongoing federal prosecution of Santos. NBC News has it. Prosecutors are going to ask the ethics committee to pause and let their prosecution go first, he said. That's what I did for 10 years. That is the nature of how these things work. And traditionally, the ethics committee will defer to the Department of Justice for criminal prosecution, and Kevin McCarthy knows that. Exactly. The ethics department is not going to get in the way of a criminal prosecution. So basically, this is a way to delay. And as we know, it's justice denied, and it's we the people who will suffer. My God. Any closing thoughts, Jessica?
Just that there are dudes who still have their seats in Congress who supported the incitement of an insurrection, and they're up in arms. Like, George Santos lied and committed fraud. It's like, yeah, that's bad. But there are people who still have their seats who did far worse. It's like a very convenient thing to be like, we can't have this. This is so bad. And it's like, you guys just want to sweep the other stuff under the rug and make it seem like you have some kind of ethical standards by making the Santos thing a big deal. And so I think that's an element here as well.